Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 17 and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus and see how both these particular devices hold up and compare. Now, the thing I can definitely tell you about these two devices is that the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, it is kind of more like a premium flagship compared to some other devices. So that might be one thing to keep in mind. But I will tell you, if you're kind of taking a look at these types of devices, you're still going to be able to get a really good type of experience. They're both very, very awesome. So let's go and see how they both kind of compare from that particular perspective. Now, if you do want to go through and pick up any one of these particular devices, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular devices. The iPhone 17 and the Galaxy S25 Plus both came out this particular year. So they just came out. It didn't, it's a fairly new watch on both of them. Not watch. It's a fairly new phone on both. The S25 Plus on the front side is basically going to be able to go through and give you a pretty large 6.7-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. So it is a very good type of screen and it's a very good type of panel. Like I stated before, if you're in the market and you're trying to go through and pick up these types of devices, you're actually going to be able to get and pick up a very nice type of device on the Galaxy S25 Plus. 120 Hz display. It's a beautiful panel. It gives, very bright. It's a very, very large panel for the most part, 1440p. It is easily one of the best types of panels you can still buy. If I'm in the market, I'm definitely going to look at something like a Galaxy S25 Plus as being one of the better types of screens that you can basically get your hands on. So from that side too, I do think if you're going to go through and pick up a device, that in and of itself, it still holds up fairly well. And it would, without a doubt, be a very good type of screen and a very good type of panel that I'd recommend a lot of people to go and pick up. So at least with the S25 Plus, that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, when you are using these types of phones, another really important thing too is that with the iPhone 17, this phone is going to be giving you a 6.3-inch LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this panel is going to be slightly, smaller. So it's going to feel like a slightly smaller panel. However, it does have one feature that might be slightly better than the S25 Plus, but this phone is going to be giving you the dynamic island, which is a little bit bigger than I would probably have liked. You're also still going to be getting, about 120 Hz refresh rate, which is awesome. But the coolest thing here is that you are actually going to be able to go through and basically pick up a 3000 nits of peak brightness display, which in and of itself is actually pretty crazy considering that that type of device is actually going to be giving you a smaller panel. So you are getting a brighter panel, but a smaller panel that actually might be kind of nice for a lot of people to go ahead and have. So I'm a big fan of that. I think if you are going to go through and pick up a device, that in and of itself is a very, very nice thing. And I'm definitely a very big fan of that as it kind of comes down to it from that standpoint. So from that viewpoint as well, I think that's another really important thing to keep in mind there. They're both giving you USB Type-C ports on the bottom, which is always typical. They're both giving you very good feeling back and sides and all that stuff. They're both frosted glass backs. I would say though that with something like a Galaxy S25 Plus, this one might feel more like a flagship because it is giving you like that triple camera setup and it feels like a very, very expensive type of phone for the most part. But I will still say with something like a Galaxy S25 Plus, even though this thing is slightly more expensive and it feels more premium, the iPhone 17 still feels like a very good type of phone. And if you're in the market and you're trying to pick up a device, I think that's still like a pretty decent option when it comes down to it as well. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too a little bit. Now, when it comes down to some other areas of these phones, another really big thing you're going to have to remember here is that with something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus and or an iPhone 17, these phones, they're, basically brand new. The Galaxy S25 Plus in the brand new market is slightly more expensive, so you're going to have to kind of keep that in mind. But with something like an iPhone 17, this one's about $800, so it is slightly cheaper than something like a Galaxy S25 Plus. When it comes down to their cameras, the Galaxy S25 Plus is essentially going to be giving you that triple camera setup on the backside, where the iPhone 17 is going to be giving you that dual camera setup. So that right there is going to be another one of those key takeaways. Because if you are wanting the phone that is going to be giving you, I guess, that better type of experience here and there, you will kind of have to take a look at something like a Galaxy S25 Plus, since that one has a higher likelihood of giving you better camera. Also, it's going to be giving you 8K at 30 frames per second. So by it giving you, 8K at 30 frames per second, this is another really big asset for this type of device because it's going to be giving you a slightly better type of experience. So as I mentioned before, if I'm in the market and I'm going to go through and pick up a device, I definitely do think the Galaxy S25 Plus is probably going to end up being the winner there. And that one would be the one that would make a lot more sense for me personally, rather than something like a, iPhone, 17. But I still think the iPhone 17's camera is still pretty good. It just so happens that it makes a little bit more sense for me to recommend something like a Galaxy S25 Plus. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, I think another really important thing to keep in mind here as well is basically the fact of the software longevity. So we're not really too sure how long these phones are going to last. I hope these phones last forever, but probably they're not going to be lasting that long. We're still going to be kind of up in the air to see how long these devices are going to be lasting, but I would probably say that these devices still have a very high likelihood of lasting for quite some time. And I feel like that right there is a really nice thing going on for these types of devices, because you're going to be able to go through and pick up, an iPhone 17 or a Galaxy S25 Plus, and you're still going to be able to get a device that's going to be lasting for a long, long time. So that right there is going to be an asset. And I will tell you that is going to be a nice thing going on for this type of device as it kind of comes down to it from that side as well. Now, when it comes down to some other areas, like when it comes down to their battery life, the S25 Plus is also probably going to go through and probably last a little bit longer in battery life. It's giving you 4,900 mAh battery. With the iPhone 17 Pro, the standard 17 is giving you 3,692 mAh battery. So there is a high likelihood something like an iPhone 17 might end up being the one that's not really going to be as great of battery life as something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus. But with that being said, I still feel like these phones are still going to be very, very good. And finally, when it comes down to the performance, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus is basically going to be giving you that Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 17 is going to be giving you that Apple A19 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So this right there is also going to be a pretty big difference. If you are, once again, wanting the phone that is going to be giving you kind of like that better type of experience for the most part, then something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus's performance is very, very good. Like that type of device is giving you such a solid performing chipset inside. And that right there, I think would be a pretty big advantage for something like an S25 Plus. I still think the iPhone 17's performance though is still very good. Like if you're going to go through and pick up a device, you're still going to be able to get a really good type of experience from something like a Samsung Galaxy, from something like an iPhone 17. But with that being said, I still think when I'm looking at something like a Galaxy S25 Plus, this one definitely makes a lot more sense for me. And that's the one that I'd probably recommend more people to go and buy, because that is kind of more of a flagship, more of a, high-end performing device. And that is kind of how I feel about both these devices. I think the iPhone 17 is a really good phone. I think in some ways it might be a better value per dollar, but I feel like with the iPhone 17 for $800, there's just some used phones like a Galaxy, like a iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16 Pro that are the same price or cheaper that I'd probably recommend more so than the iPhone 17. With the Galaxy S25 Plus, this is a better phone than the iPhone 17. It's also more expensive, right? It's going to be giving you a lot more, I think, flagship-esque type of features. So that is kind of an advantage, but you're going to have to remember that that type of device is going to be a little limited in some other areas. Although it's not the biggest deal in the world, you are going to be getting, like I would rather recommend like a S24 Ultra in the used market rather than that one. But I think it's a great phone. I think it's a very, very good phone to buy. If you're in the market and you're going to go pick up a device, I'd probably recommend buying one of those ones. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.